dear participants of the conference and virtual participants. Welcome to our session, and really I'm so happy to see you in our session. Today we will have 4 presentations, but before that I would like to show a very short video clip, only 1 minute, about future learning. Yeah, this is the future, but now we want to present what we are doing in our life. And now I would like to invite our first speaker, Nikolai Scerbakov. You have 20 minutes, and really I would like to ask you, please be active, asking our presenters what really you want to know a little bit more deeply. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the presentation. So, I'm Nikolai Scerbakov from Graz University of Technology, and actually, I'm professor there and head of scientific group dealing with developing of different kind of web-based information systems, and learning management systems are among them. So we also deal with developing learning management systems. I don't like to say that I am from Austria, because then people think that my accent is German. That's definitely wrong, because my accent is typical Russian accent. So enjoy it. And so, as I said, we are developing new kind of learning management systems. And the first question, of course, is why? Why do we need to develop any further learning management system when we have such a good and well elaborated applications as Moodle, Blackboard, Canva, and so on? The first issue which I would like to share with you. So we learn a number of interesting things during such developments. And first issue, why do we develop a new kind of learning management system, is architecture of this system. Of course, you know that normally learning management system looks like you can see here. So we have internet server, and we have application installed on this internet server. So we have, precisely speaking, a number of scripts which implement logic of this application. And we are using World Wide Web client in order to communicate with this system as an end user device. And of course, we have among a number of positive things, we have some negative things, and you can read it here. So main issue is so-called uneven workload. So because when we have systems which are built in accordance with this architecture, all data processing is done on a server. So client simply sends HTTP request and interpret HTTP responses. So main workload on the server. And then if we speak about learning management system, we have some very interesting things. For example, just imagine you have a course of 500 students, and these 500 students need to do online examination. And all these 500 students at the same time access your system, and system must serve these 500 students, and response time should be minimal. This is one issue. Another issue, reliability. So by no means your system should not crash during this online examination or working many systems together. So this is issues which can be solved generally, because you can use concept of so-called internet farm, or when you have not a single server, you have a number of servers working in parallel, and you have in front of this number of processing servers, you have a special servers which so web balancing servers, some proxy servers, which actually allow to solve this problem. But price for solving this problem is very high, because supporting of this web farm sometimes it's quite expensive. So there is, of course, and I hope you heard about it, so-called AJAX architecture, asynchronous Java and XML. And this architecture allows us to build internet-based information system using another approach. So we place on the server only so-called web services. So web services allow you to work with a database management system just to place data or retrieve data. All data processing is done on client side using client side scripts. And of course, here we have, as usual, a number of advantages and number of disadvantages. First of all, we implemented such a system, and we had been using this system for already, I guess, 10 years. And what we can say is that till 500 or 400 users, this system works on a single server without any problems. Then, so we have rather good performance. Then we can implement a new way of user interface for web-based systems. Because how do we see user interface normally when we work with internet? You have an anchor, some highlighted area, you click on this area and you jump to another page which provides another information. So of course this is very primitive explanation, but nevertheless it's more or less close to reality. Here with this architecture we can implement much more advanced user interface features, because AJAX architecture use event control instead of these jump options. So you can use mouse over, drag and drop facilities, and so on and so forth. Of course, there is a number of disadvantages of this architecture. So, first of all, navigation in these systems looks a little bit differently. It's difficult to explain it when you have no experience with AJAX systems. But situation looks like this. Normally, if you have a picture on a screen, you are a user of internet-based system. If you see a picture on the screen and this picture changes, then you think, aha, I can click on back button and I will see previous picture. So this is a kind of internet culture that you can always use a back button if you would like to see previous picture in your navigation. In AJAX architecture, this is not true without special preparations, because AJAX architecture work with so-called dynamic HTML. Dynamic HTML means that JavaScript can change appearance of web page, change picture on the screen without jumping to another location on the web. So directly on the client side. And it means that that back button does not work anymore. So if you use back button, you not always get previous picture. Sometimes you jump to unexpected location on the web and so on. So this is so-called getting lost syndrome. And so this is one disadvantage. And second and main disadvantage of Ajax application is security. Because these security issues can be explained quite easily. So first of all, your application on the client side communicates to a number of web services, to a number of applications, to small applications on HTTP server. And in order to communicate, you are using some protocol. It means that some other client, malicious client, can simulate this protocol and can send HTTP request to your web services without actual permission. So, and it means that some client can call this web service to read some sensitive data or to modify this data. Of course, this can be solved, and it's not a big deal to provide so-called tokens. So each client get a particular token, and only token allows client to communicate to the server. Of course, there can be other issues, but nevertheless it works. And really issue which is, I would say, really dangerous is the following: that you implement some scripts, some programs, and place it on a client. And this program now communicates to the server. But if you place it to the client, it means that it's open for people who are working on this client. They can easily modify your scripts in order to do something harmful for your server. For example, to store some information or to retrieve information where they do not have rights. Of course, this issue also can be solved, but I mean solution for these security issues, fortunately or unfortunately, are outside of this talk. So this is some issues which, from my point of view, identify acceptance of learning management system. What does it mean, acceptance? So we really have some problems that some teachers do not like to use any learning management system. Or another issue, some students complain about learning management system, saying we do not understand, we cannot work with it, and so on. So from my point of view, if you would like that your learning management system would be accepted by teachers, so there must be no additional learning curve. So it means that if you have a teacher of, I don't know, sociology, biology, or something like this, having no experience with programming, with World Wide Web, nevertheless, this system must be clear for this teacher, and this system must be easily used by this teacher. So, used two paradigms. It means that all people working with personal computers now are more or less used to some interfaces which you can find on all operating systems. For example, drag, drop, pop-up windows, and things like this. And learning management system should provide exactly the same basic user interface features. And issue number 3. This is really very important issue. So if teacher place some materials on the web and use your learning management system, you have to very easily explain what are advantages of using this system. So, for example, you can say, if you place PDF file into our system, then this PDF file can be easily annotated and the annotations can be used for teaching and so on and so forth. For students, acceptance of learning management system can be seen from two different perspectives. First of all, it must be standard environment for all courses. So this is really very unpleasant thing when we have a number of different learning management systems used for one and the same students. I mean for one and the same courses, for one and the same faculty. Because then students cannot see the system as standard and they can learn some things for each course. And of course, intuitive interface must be provided for these systems. So how do we solve all these problems, acceptance of this system? So we use special data structuring paradigm, so data modeling paradigm. From our point of view, or from our perspective, each course is created as a number of containers. All containers belong to special types. For example, you can say that this is library container. So in library container, all materials can be accessed using this library paradigm. So you click on a folder, folder is opened, and then you can access some materials like you can see here. Curriculum. In curriculum, you have just sequence of sequence of some documents describing sequence of work with this course. Announcements, just a number of announcements which are available for students. And then each course can be created as a number of containers. So teachers simply drag and drop some containers and say, okay, for this course I will have just one announcement container or two announcement containers. So, and I will call them first announcements and the important announcements, whatever. Then I will have one or no course curriculum, one course library, and some teaching aids container. And as soon as teacher define these containers, then materials can be simply placed on the server using drag and drop paradigm. So if I have my PDF file on my local computer, then I can simply grab it and place in the container library. That's it. So that file is available for my students. If teacher asks me, okay, so but I can do similar things with ordinary HTTP server, I can grab file and place it in some directory. What are advantages? I will say, okay, then your teachers, your students can comment on this file, you can evaluate this file from students, and so some very obvious advantages which your materials get if they are placed into this container. And finally, final thing. So, of course, very important thing is if your system can be extended with functionality of all other applications available on the web. For example, we have a number of cloud services. For example, here, OneDrive, Google, Dropbox, and some other web services. And it must work like this. Okay, we have a number of containers, for example. Okay, let us add one more container. And this container will be my account in Dropbox. So I will place it in my course, and then it will be seamlessly integrated into all other containers. And now I can use all functionality of these web services, of these cloud services. So I can, on my local computer, drag and drop some files into my account, into Dropbox account, and this file will automatically appear for students on my internet learning management system. So, and the same can be used in another direction. So I can say, I do not want to browse this course and download all files which this stupid teacher uploaded for me. I would like to use another paradigm. I am just installing synchronization with the course and, for example, a folder on my local computer. And then all files which are uploaded into this course will automatically appear into my local drive. Okay, then thank you very much for your attention.
You have 1 minute, Professor Scerbakov. You have 1 minute more if you want.
No,
No, we
it's
are not so
difficult
strong.
to say. So because actually it was my fault because I had 3 times more materials than I could present. But I can say also important thing is so-called social network functionality, because students are used now to learn from social networks. And this is very important if, for example, you can say, okay, you don't need to use exceptionally my system. You can use, for example, one of these applications which are seamlessly integrated into this learning management system. That's it.
Thank you, Professor Scerbakov. And any questions? I'm going more close to our professor and more close to our microphone. Please, Tomas.
Just interesting. You know that out there are well-established platforms, MOOCs like Udacity and similar. So, maybe do you know, is their approach similar to yours, or your platform somehow different?
Pardon me, I haven't got
Okay,
sorry.
so we have various platforms like Udacity and several others. So I just want to ask, is your way similar to theirs or different?
Of course, there are
Sorry,
some
Professor, can could you very shortly?
there are some very similar.
1 minute, please. I would like to repeat to the microphone because we have remote participants in our conference, and Associate Professor Tomas Blažauskas asking, MOOCs exist, MOOCs provided different platforms like Udacity, Coursera, edX, and etc. What about your platform? Your platform have some similarities or it's very unique? It's okay?
It's, I would say that, so it depends on a point of view, because we can see from different perspectives. So first, is this architecture unique or not, Ajax? No. Right now, there are some systems which use this architecture. For example, Canva system. They also use Ajax. Then, if we say, okay, this interface solution with drag and drop, with HTML5 and so on, is it unique or not? No. There are some, for example, for Moodle, there are some modules which use this approach. So I cannot say that this is a new system and you should immediately run and use this system. We are just making mainly experiments. But fortunately, this system is in use. So we have a few thousand courses on this system. So it's working and so on. And we are getting experience with it. Because I mean, with these things, what is the advantage of Ajax architecture for web-based systems?
Okay, and if you will have more questions, usually we will have coffee break. And I would like to ask, thanks to Professor Scerbakov
You are
for
welcome.
really interesting presentation and certificate
Oh,
memories
thank
about
you.
this conference. And now I would like to invite our second speaker, Andrius Paulauskas. You have 20 minutes, and please introduce yourself and your title of your presentation. Please, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Okay, greetings everyone. I'm Andrius Paulauskas. I'm a PhD student in Kaunas Technology of Kaunas University of Technology, and I'm also a supervisor of a virtual reality research laboratory. And in this laboratory, we perform various research on virtual reality technology and also augmented reality. So mixed reality in general. So what I'd like to present to you today is a mobile application based on augmented reality that is used for learning STEM subjects. Yeah. So first, I'll start from introducing the situation. So over the past 10 years, virtual reality and augmented reality technologies have vastly improved, and this in turn this allowed the technology to get cheaper and be available to a much broader audience of people. And this availability, the availability of the technology to the broader audience, allows us to make applications that can be used for various industries, various situations. So in education, in entertainment, in advertising, in real estate, and so on and so forth. And the situation right now is that most augmented reality applications that are on the market are used for entertainment and as I mentioned before, advertisement, advertising, as simple, small little applications that usually advertise some product or service. And of course, with the evolution of technology, various research has been done that show the benefit of applying augmented reality technology in education. How it allows to not only give the students the material of what is to be learned, not only give it in a more interesting way, but also manage to motivate them more. As I said, over the past 10 years, the technology has improved, and over these years, a lot of various libraries and frameworks became available for developing all sorts of applications. And the situation is that we can divide these technologies in two parts, basically, the augmented reality technology in two parts, which includes either marker-based augmented reality or markerless augmented reality, which is based on SLAM, which translates to simultaneous location and mapping algorithms, which manage to with the use of the sensors in a mobile or a handheld device, manage to not only detect the location of the device that is processing the data, but also manage to detect the environment that surrounds it. So a few, I have a slide of a few of the examples of various technologies. Well, some of them are older than others, and in some cases they're simpler. Now the choice of which technology to use is usually which technology we'll use depends on what the target audience is, because the older technologies are more prone to support older devices. If you want to have a broader audience of students, let's say we want to apply our applications in perhaps poorer countries where the technology is not as available and so on, we should choose a situation where we could support as much devices as possible. So in these cases, a library like Vuforia or Kudan could be used, which support cheaper and older devices. And if we support, and if you want to make high-end applications, we use the newer ones like AR Core or AR Kit. And of course, the choice depends on what our application wants to what the application is used for. So, and let's say if we have an application that has to show some content on a specific part of some image or a location, we could use a marker-based library, and if we want some sort of a free-flowing augmented reality application, we can use the markerless ones. What other advantages? What other technologies has evolved together with augmented reality are various game engines which lets augmented reality which lets to develop augmented reality applications much easier, and the iteration of the programs developed are vastly improved. And such a situation of the rising of these of game engines as serious frameworks has also been used in integrating the augmented reality technologies with these engines, and in this case, it's a useful situation where we can move most of our effort into developing the actual teaching content rather than trying to develop the technology that would allow us to apply it. So now I'll go on to the actual application we have developed, and for the current application I'm presenting, we developed it in Unity game engine using the 2017.2.1 version, and together with the engine we used the Vuforia augmented reality library, which of version 6.5. Now, as I mentioned before, the integration with the engine is already there, so there wasn't much necessity or hard work to apply these to connect these technologies. And the application is also used for the application is deployed on for Android devices or Apple iOS devices. So yeah, the created application, it works as a mobile app on any smartphone that supports version 2.2, which runs version 2.2 of Android or iOS version 8 or higher. And it uses Vuforia as the augmented reality processing engine, which in turn uses the camera to receive the image feed, which it processes and tries to detect defined markers which are used for the application. Now the detection of markers is based on image detection, which basically processes every single frame coming from the camera and tries to detect as many reference points as possible. And these reference points are later on matched with a defined image we have supplied to the program, and once the same points have been found in the image feed and in the they match up with the provided image, the augmented content is shown on through the phone's screen. Yes, and the markers that were used were three posters that are defined for chemistry, physics, and mathematics. And the design behind this program is that once these posters are available in schools, the students can take their phones and use them as reference points for various mathematical, physics, or chemistry formulas. Now, the posters were specifically designed to be easily tracked by the Vuforia engine, and for that, what needs to be taken into account is that your markers, or as posters in this case, but they can be anything, has to have enough contrasting color in the contrasting value in the image. So and the pattern, any pattern that the image or the marker has, it should not repeat, because repeating a pattern just confuses the system. And text, usually text works very fine for any kind of marker, and in this case there's text, and that is mainly that's why the whole design is much easier for this. There's also various, I don't know if it's very visible, but there's various other smaller elements, points that are also that also helps the library to find these posters and differentiate between them. But the main heavy lifting is done by the text, well, being easily detectable. So I have a video of how the application works, and it's a short video of simply showing how it can work. So we have the application. The camera feeds supplies the image for the application, and once the poster is detected, we can interact with the poster by simply touching on one of the formula categories, and additional content shows up, which is defined in the program. So in this example, we have a maths poster clicking on various geometric formulas for sphere, calculating sphere volume, pyramid volumes, and so on. So once we implemented the application, we published it on the Play Store and App Store that schools in Lithuania could reach them. And of course, because the application doesn't work without a marker, we supplied posters to various schools. Reception was positive based on initial reactions, but at some points the weakest link of why students could have a hard time using this application in our case was that teachers were not very technologically advanced in some cases, and they couldn't help students understand this application, but there were a couple of cases of this. In the future, we are planning to do further research on this specific application to evaluate the effectiveness of how it can improve the motivation of students, how it can improve the process of learning, and of course research the usability of the app, how comfortable it is to use it, probably by using some questionnaires like SUS, software usability scale, and so on. And of course update the application from according to the received feedback from the teachers and students and so on. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Andrius. Questions?
Maybe
Yeah.
I would like us to comment what we have seen in the video. Yeah, it may be attractive for students, for other people to see formula of some mathematical expressions or other things, but I don't think it will help or motivate to learn more. I think it would be, maybe it would be more useful to have some animation or some better explanation, because if we see just schema or some kind of drawing and just formulas, I'm not sure whether it motivates to learn.
Yeah.
It just shows some information, so this is kind of to think about.
Yes, and the idea of the technology might just be impressive, and sometimes that is enough. But you are right, because for an easier learning process, an actual example of some sort of processes could be animated and shown. And of course, maybe adding to the comment, the usability also could be changed, because updated, improved. Here it is, improved, because we might need to keep the content on the phone's screen rather than just seeing it while the poster is there. So yes, there are still a lot of room for improvement.
But I think it's a opposite of comment. I think lazy students in schools will be very happy, because during testing period it will be very easy to see, maybe in hidden format, but I think it will be very popular. I hope. Yes, please, Jeff.
Just from I have an education background, and I think a lot of this is going to go back to teachers.
Yeah.
There's a certain set of teachers that you need to memorize the formulas. In my opinion, that's a waste of time, because they can access. But it would be nice if they could access all the formulas in math, and still, you have to pick which one you have to implement. So if you can problem solve and read the math problem and distinguish which formula out of the 30 that are there, would be a very good resource for individuals to have on their phones or have on their computers or whatever to access all that information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and of course, if you will have more questions, Andrius will be happy to answer you. And thank you, Andrius. It's your first presentation or not?
I think so.
Yes? Could you make picture? I'm sure Andrius will be really scientific researcher, and maybe after a few years, we will see as an associated professor and professor. This is our suggestions. Okay, and now I would like to invite our next speaker, Tomas Blažauskas, and please introduce yourself and the topic of your research. Yeah.
Okay, so hello everyone. First of all, I want to thank the organizers. It's really nice to be here. And I will talk about the technologies which Andrius introduced, but I will talk from the educational part. So how these technologies could be used in education. Well, but to tell the truth, I don't know. And at least I don't know many ways how it could be used in the education, so I will ask you about it. But to start, I want to give a context for augmented reality, and I want to introduce reality and virtuality continuum. So if you would have two poles, like real reality, well, some kind of a reality we are right now in. Well, at least I believe that I'm not in some kind of a matrix. And we will have the virtual environment, the pure virtual environment where you don't see the reality. So all the realities within are so-called mixed realities. And I will talk about basically this part, augmented reality, which means the reality which is where are added some digital objects. Okay, so I will talk about different approaches, and the very old approach is to use some kind of a marker. You needed to print the marker, you needed to place that marker on some kind of object, and you could see some augmentation. But this is an old approach because right now we don't need it, because right now the actual picture could be something like the marker, and we could augment various things on various planes, on the pictures, or in this case, you will see augmentations on the actual buildings. We had one project with Academy of Arts where we tried to augment famous buildings with various animations. So yeah, so I will ask you how we can use it in education, and maybe you can have several answers for that. And I don't want to restrict. So these were augmentation on the buildings, but these buildings from afar are something like planes. If we would like to have augmentation on some 3D objects, it doesn't work. But for that, Vuforia has a solution. We can do augmentations by scanning some objects. And we had one project. We tried to make augmentation and restore our old castle in the city of Kaunas. So we printed 3D model of the castle, which is still remaining, and we augmented it using 3D augmentations. Also, what we can do, we can have augmented reality based on the terrain or the planes. The technologies now can distinguish the plane, and we can put there various objects. So here you will see our old castle, and how we tried to augment it by adding historical walls. And you can not only see it from one point, but you can come closer and explore that castle, how it could have actually looked at some point of history. Well, we showed some historians and they say it was a bit different, but at least it's a try. On the left here you see how it looks right now, and on the right how it kind of should have looked at some point of a history. You can see there is some little difference over there. We should work on that. But it was just a try. So again, what we can do, how we can use that in education. And finally, we have technologies where we can scan the environment and place the objects wherever we want to. So we have two of the gadgets, Microsoft HoloLens and Magic Leap. But well, these technologies, at least now, do not live up to the expectations, so I will stop it here. So what's next? What is trending now? There are so-called augmented reality portals. Imagine you wanted once to get into some world where orcs and dragons are flying, or where some historical battle is going on. So we can have it. We can just place in the front of us such kind of a portal, and we can enter inside, and we can go back to the real reality. So we have right now two projects, one educational and one is even better. We will enter the world of zombies and we will have to fight against them. So this is what we are doing, and finally I want to tell you some story. Yesterday we had some story about Vilnius, and I also want to tell the story about two guys who wanted to conquer Atlantic Ocean around 90 years ago. So we needed money to get the better airplane. So we participated in various exhibitions by flying, making acrobatic tricks. And we were discussing what to do more to get more money. And we kind of agreed to make some crowdfunding to make the plane better. And when we get the plane, we constructed it, improving so we can fly over the ocean. And so, well, people need to construct that plane right now to solve some optimization problems, so it's more interesting. And to fly over that ocean. We also needed to get the things, because the plane was heavy, and we needed to get the things which we could afford. And after we done that, we wait for a good weather, in order to cross the ocean. And when we were ready, we were trying to take off. According to one of the plane, to Darius, it was the most difficult part. So the pilots were trying to take off. They were not successful 3 times. But finally, when the road was at the end, they accomplished it. Various details of their flight, well, we introduced using the dialogue form, some kind of answer, some kind of test questions, but which looks like a natural dialogue. And these pilots flew till the island of Newfoundland and through their message that everything is okay. They had to navigate through the ocean. And we find there were some storms we needed to avoid. We reached, we reached Berlin, but then something went wrong. And nobody knows what went wrong. I think the interdimensional portal opened up and their plane crashed. But we live till now, at least in Kaunas Museum of War, where this application will be presented and used in this hall. You can visit it, or you can visit at least virtually when this application is released. So, museum wanted not only to give some attraction to people, we wanted some kind of continuation. We wanted that pupils would want to come to their museum, and so they were interested more about that heroic deed. So one of the solutions, we said that we will make badges. And it's like gathering badges of famous basketball players or soccer players, and you get more and more things. And later on, we thought even different things, how to exploit the plane-based augmented reality, and now we can place that plane, well, in the field nearby and see how that plane looked and how it looked and how it could have looked using original dimension. So while this is playing, I think that's all. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tomas. Really, I think first time I listened that it was 3 times not unsuccessful time. Or really they are heroes that they decided to continue. More questions? not only about Lituanica, but maybe more about your research object. No. Okay. What about continuation? Do you have some ideas, not only with Museum of War, but maybe with other educational institutions?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see about that.
Okay. I think really this is virtual reality is on the top, and I'm so happy that KTU are very active in this area. And I would like to give Tomas Blažauskas certificate. It's not first.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Danguolė.
And now I would like to invite our second speaker, Rostislav. Could you introduce yourself? And you have 20 minutes, please. The floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Rostislav Fojtík. I am assistant professor at Department of Informatics and Computers at University of Ostrava in Czech Republic. I teach programming hardware and I deal programming of mobile application and teaching methodology of programming and education informatics. My short presentation is about experience with distance and blended learning of informatics. Informatics and computer science are developing very rapidly, and methodology is created new form and method forms for teaching. Distance education and blended education is very popular because workers can expand their qualification in competitions and skills and etc. And they often do not have to attend schools. It's important for it there. At our department, we use distance education 20 years. At first, we use distance education for students with DIL students, and today we offer this study for all students. We use different learning management system. At first, Lotus Notes client, IBM Workplace, Collaborative Learning, Tutor 2000, etc., etc. Now we use Moodle. Distance education is the same study program at for full-time students, and students have only 2 to 5 present tutorial during each semester for each course. Distance must also take the exam as well as full-time students at our university present form. Distance education is very popular, but create new problems. In Czech Republic are only 4 study programs in distance form. It's more and more blended form, but distance only 4 study programs. Distance students have worse outcomes than full-time students. And my presentation is about comparing the success of distance and full-time students. We made hypothesis, zero hypothesis, distance and full-time students will not have different learning outcomes. We compared the result of the students in the individual course in bachelor and master study, and we compared 2 groups, distance students and full-time students. And we use statistical method, for example, t-test. This is results of our comparison. In first semester, the success rate of full-time student is 64%, full-time students. But distance students learns is only 39%. It's very different. This graph show results and comparing results in course computer architecture and fundamental of operating systems. This course is typically for first semester in bachelor study. Blue is full-time students, present students, and red is distance. It's very, very different, successful. It is other graph. It's the same course, and course basic of programming is typically in first semester. This full-time students is it's point. Students must minimum 51 points for success. Maximum is 100 points. Full-time students median is 66. But distance students, more and more distance students have 0 points. And basic of programming is the same. It's very, very different between full-time and distance students. Other semester, it's not great different. It's, for example, graph shows results in course operating system 1 and algorithm and data structure, typically second semester. The results is the similar. For example, in third semester, it's not very great different between group full-time students and distance students. And fifth semester, and this is comparisons in the courses. This is courses in first semester, second semester, and the end sixth semester. It's very different are in first semester. Why? Because students haven't experience with distance education. We all students, all teachers have experience with present education. It's normal at primary school, secondary school, high school. But distance education, it's new for students and for teachers. This is comparing our average number of points. It's very different, but it's all students. And other graph shows comparing average number of points, only successful students. It's not different. Then and some courses, in some courses, the distance students are better than full-time students. It's interesting. How to increase the success of distance students? At first is motivation. Motivation of distance student is significant. And the teacher must support the regular and frequent work of students. Because distance students started with study, it's long time, and it's at the end semester, I must create homework, and it's not possible for them. Quality teaching materials and quality feedback for students and teachers. How implementation of distance courses. Creators of online courses must create not only high quality teaching text materials. For example, we use MediaSci for recording and presenting video lecture. A continuous activity can be assured, for example, by assisting with regular tasks that students have to develop, for example, once every 2 to 3 weeks. Visual course content. At first, it's text for self-study, video lectures, animation, solved sample programs. Very important are self-tests for students, not for teacher, for students. E-conference, homeworks, and tests. This is example our course in Moodle. This by check. This is object, keywords, presentation, video, explain, etc. And this is example MediaSci. MediaSci is tool for capture video lecture. This is there are two window. In first window is slides and monitor of teachers, and second window are video with teacher, and this window are synchronized, and students can choose some slide and video sync with this slide. Conclusion: distance learning is now very popular, but it's popular, but created new problems. Distance students have worse outcomes than full-time students, typically in first, especially in first years and first semester. Because it's necessary to improve the quality of studies, offer quality learning materials, and ensure good governance study. Distance students cannot properly organize study time, and however, the average rating of successful distance and full-time students is the same.
Thank you, Rostislav.
Thank you.
Questions? Yeah, please.
You mentioned that motivation plays a huge part in student success. Have you tried to measure the motivation of students?
Yes, they have motivation from our works. It's first motivation, because more and more distance students work in firms and programmable, etc. But very important is when if a teacher motivated students. It's I must write for in students. Why do you know in Moodle? Why do you know prepare homework, etc.
Students, as understood, they have some special action to motivate students. But
Yes.
I have another question. How you are motivating teachers to
Oh.
because this is our biggest problem in our university.
It's bigger problem.
Big problem.
Bigger problem because teacher teach how teach 10 years ago. It is new problems, and teacher cannot use new form and new methods in distance education. It's very problem. We teach teachers.
Okay.
Yes, it's very important.
Okay. Yeah, because please,
One
Jeff.
question. I have a
No,
question.
no, Jeff, please.
How many classes did you compare of regular instruction versus distance?
Can I
How-
repeat, because I'm thinking about remote
And
participants. How many
of those
classes did you
sessions-
compare?
How many
Yes.
professors actually, was the same professor teaching an online class?
Yes.
versus,
We our department is small, and we one group distance students, one group full-time students, and first semester it's typically 50 to 100 students in group.
No, it's so many. Oh, good.
And in first semester,
Yeah.
yes, and in second academic years it's only 20 and 30 students.
What happens is they are drop out?
Excuse me?
They are drop out?
Yes, in first semester.
Okay.
First
Oh,
semester.
it's all right. Okay, and Armantas?
May you show very first graph that you showed us in the one of the first slides? No, very first that you showed.
Yeah?
Yeah, it seems this. As we can see, distance, the learning students, these are red columns, they are constantly decreasing. They
Yeah.
It's random. Because
but if we see
it's not.
but the overall performance, it seems it is constantly decreasing and they draw a straight line, and it seems
Yeah.
they each year they are lacking motivation more and more. And then can you explain this?
Yes, we can motivation, more and more motivation, but students more and more lazy.
Oh.
Maybe this is because of technologies.
Yes. This is a problem because more distance students don't know what distance education. They mean it is this is study more and more. It is not complicated. It's than present students. And on first semester, it's problem for them.
So it seems your research shows that we will not turn into distance learning in next few years.
Yes.
No, but I can tell you we can share our experience because we started first in Lithuania fully online master degree program. And we started maybe 20 years ago, I don't remember. It was not in last century, but really a long time ago. And really it was first online, fully online study program in Lithuania. And I think very long time it was only one. It means not so easy really to create full study program. Okay, if you will have some questions, because I'm worried about, I'm not sure about coffee break, but as I know, tutorial is waiting for us. And Rostislav, certificate. Oh, we are so happy to have you in France. Okay, thank you, Aurora, for participating in this session. And I would like to thank to our, not cameraman, but video conference expert.
Thank you for the chair.
Oh,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Nice
you.
to talk to
Actually, thank you. Okay, and now I would like to invite you to another room, and I would like to wish to our presenters successful research in the future. And of course, we are waiting on the next year more presentations. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.